Hello and welcome for this new video on the Vijnana Bhairava tantra. Today, part of a series of verses around the body, we shall see two verses, verses 72 and 82 and 83. First one in Sanskrit. āsane śayane sthitvā nirādhāraṃ vibhāvayan svadehaṃ manasi kṣiṇe kṣaṇāt kṣīṇāśayo bhavet. So being seated or lying on a couch, evoking that the body seated or lying down has no support. In fact, you'll see, like, I close the eyes and I feel I'm just hanging in space. There is no ground below my body. I'm just hanging in space, as if there were no support. Nirādhāraṃ. Again we find that injunction, nirādhāraṃ, without support. Without support. So the body without support becomes awareness without support, because of the interdependence between the body and mind, between the body and attention. Svadehaṃ manasi kṣiṇe. When one's own body has been evoked like this, or felt like this, nirādhāraṃ svadehaṃ vibhāvayan, having felt one's own body as being without support, while lying on a couch or seated on the ground. Manasi kṣiṇe, when attention is destroyed. Attention is destroyed means relaxed, no more contracted and fragmented, but wide open, fresh and whole. Kṣaṇāt, from that moment onward, kṣīṇāśayo bhavet, she will become someone whose attention is destroyed. In fact, it is repeating with different synonyms, because there is a play on sounds. Kṣiṇe, kṣaṇāt, kṣīṇāśayo. There is a play on the syllable, on the sound kṣa, kṣi. But here, in fact, commentators rightly says that sadyā right from that instant, kṣīṇāśayo nirvāsano bhavet. So our habits of contraction become destroyed, dissolved back in space, in wide open awareness, just like a wave going back into the ocean. So you sit comfortably, or you lie down, and you evoke, you realize, you feel that there is no ground, or rather that below the feeling of touching the ground, there is nothing, which is the case. There is no feeling there. Below the feelings, the sensations of my feet on the ground, my ankles, my buttocks, it's like a light irradiating downwards, but in emptiness. So I feel that emptiness, I evoke that emptiness, and my attention, that is my mind, attention and mind are synonyms, my attention dissolves back into wide open awareness. My body is something, sensations like clouds, and my real awareness, my background awareness, consciousness that I really am, is like the sky into which the clouds go back, dissolve back. Here is the same, but spatially with the feeling of the body below the ground, what we feel below the ground, that tactile, that light of touch sensations radiating, shining downwards into that space, and that space is none other than the space of awareness, the space of consciousness. So if we put our attention into that space, attention dissolves into that space, becomes relaxed and whole. That's the practice here. So it is again a practice that has already been described in other verses before, when they said you should feel the space above the head and below the body. Pristhashunyam, Moolashunyam. And then there was the following verse that added, and feel Hrichunyam, the void, the sky, the space of the heart. So here it's the same, just focusing on the space below the body. So you see, all those are kind of games of exploration of our sensations, not searching for radically new sensations through artificial techniques and tricks, but rather putting our attention where we don't put it usually. Places that are the weak points of our usual ordinary way of experiencing. Like there are holes in our prison, in our mind prison, but we don't even pay attention to those holes. We see only the walls of the prison, of the cell, but there are holes, and the space below the body, the space around the body, like all the spaces generally, are like holes in that prison. And if we put our attention into it slowly, that prison, the walls will start to dissolve. So that's the idea here. Next, verse 83. Om calāsane sthitasyātha śanair dehacālanāt praśānte manasi bhāve devi divyaugham āpnuyāt. So now for one who is standing or seated, sthitasya, calāsane, on a seat which is moving like on an elephant, or a modern version would be in a car, in a train, va, or dehacālanāt, by moving the body, śanair, slowly. So when you are in a moving vehicle, seated in a moving vehicle, or moving the body slowly, praśānte manasi bhāve, when you are in a state of where the attention becomes completely relaxed, quiet, devoid of all agitation, devoid of all fever, Devi, O goddess, because it is still Shiva, the god, speaking to the goddess. divyaugham āpnuyāt. Divyaugham āpnuyāt. One will reach, one will get the divine flow. The divine flow, ogha. The divine flow. Ogha is a word that is traditionally used also for tradition, transmission, lineage. The flow of transmission, the transmission of the divine energy, the divine consciousness. And there are several levels there. There is the divyaugham, the divine lineage, the siddhoga, the lineage of the perfected ones, and the manavoga, the human lineage. Those are three stages from the higher to the lower of transmission of the teachings and of grace. Here, anyway, when the body is moving, when we put our attention on that movement, provided that movement is slow enough, then attention will become more and more quiet. Attention will naturally follow the movement, like say I'm riding on a camel or riding my car on a road in the mountain, and there are slow curves, and there is a kind of slow movement of the body with the ups and downs of the road, with the small bumps. And so my attention is like in a lullaby. It's starting to feel coveted and more relaxed therefrom. And if I move my body slowly, if I start to speak slowly, the same will happen. I will feel more and more relaxed. My agitation will slowly settle down. I will no more go here and there like an excited octopus throwing its arms far away, but I will remain more and more hanging in space. Again, that feeling of space, that feeling of floating in the sky, of floating in emptiness, which is so important, because through that the body, attention, energy, whatever you call it, will start to open like a closed fist that slowly relaxes and feel more and more like hanging in space and dissolving space, opening even from the inside, from the inside of every joint, like all the parts are expanding in space, taking their place, settling, homing into space, as it were. So that's the practice for today. You can practice moving slowly, like an experiment, not like a practice that you apply, not like a technique, not like a work that you do or that you have to, but rather like a game, like an experiment, like you don't know, and you're curious. Often when we are children, we do those sort of things spontaneously, naturally, and with aging, we forget, and even we forget that we have forgotten, and we are so taken by conditionings, by those vasana, ashaya, that we become more and more constricted, and it becomes a vicious circle, because the more we feel constricted, the more we are constricted by that realization. So here we just relax. You see, again, beyond those particular techniques, tricks or games of uh, of attention that we are taught here, we should understand the deeper principles in order to freely explore by ourselves experience. That's what I think the authors of this collection wanted. This is not here a system of techniques. This is more like poetical invitations to explore all by oneself, because no one else can do it for us. The field, the infinite field of experience, and here especially bodily experience, sensory experience. And here the deep principle is I put my attention on the body and the body relaxes without any effort. As soon as I become aware my fist is tight, it starts to relax, or at least the door opens for the possibility of my fist starting to relax. So the tool of all those practices, common to all of them, is attention. All that is all about attention. Attention getting lost, distracted, fragmented, tormented, exhausted, and here and now coming to rest in wide open space without any troubles, just careless. And the less we care, the brighter it shines. Completely open, nothing to hold on, rather dropping, floating, sliding, gliding, flowing, melting in that vibrant, fresh, clear, alive, infinite sky. So, that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.